Hey everyone, welcome to the Beginning of Wisdom podcast. This is part 2 of my conversation with Paul Ryan. If you haven't already, I'd recommend you go back and listen to part 1, as it provides some really valuable context for the things that Paul talks about in this episode. I hope you enjoy part 2. So, yeah, you were just sharing about how this guy has brought an incredible transformation, and I suppose the trajectory has started to shift
Well,
in your
actually,
life.
I remember now you actually asked about who would be some of the key male mentors.
Yeah.
And probably he would have been the first major one. And interestingly, he was only with us for a week. It might have been 5 days.
Yeah.
But I had the privilege to then stay connected with him for a while. He resourced us with some books and suggested, tapes. Do you remember tapes? Did you ever
I actually did
you ever
have
know
a few.
about tapes?
I did.
Some good recordings on tape to listen to.
Yeah.
Which fed us something in that window. But interestingly, like he only, and the truth is, I have to assume he'd have to have gone to glory by now. It was a window in time where we stayed connected for a while, and then I didn't. Actually, interestingly, I haven't mentioned his name, have I? So that's probably good that I don't know. I can be easier to share what I would say next. But he actually fell into moral error, and he had I think he was counselling a woman privately, which never a smart move.
Yeah.
And there's only 3 ways in which a bloke goes down, right? Or let's make it more generally. It's usually 3 ways in which a person can get taken out, and it's power, money, or sex.
Yeah.
Probably apart from those 3, there's not too much more that could go wrong, really.
Some form or another.
And so generally I think to myself, well, okay, I make sure I don't handle the money in the ministry I'm involved with. And at home I'm not allowed to. The Minister for Finance makes sure of that. Well, why would you put me in charge of money? I'll just get on a bad day, I'll go out and buy something to comfort myself. So I'm a little better at that these days, by the way. Jesus is the answer. But looking for influence and power and the need for that, or falling to some temptation in regards to finance, getting caught with your hand in the till or something like that, where you do something unscrupulous. And of course the sexual failings, and this poor guy had fallen into counselling a woman privately in a way that eventually led to, in her brokenness, wanting more from him, that he was sadly giving to her in some physical way that was completely inappropriate. I don't know all the details, but it got him sacked from ministry and stood down. And I think his dear wife did stay with him, but there was some work to be done. And so, but it was interesting in that. I don't know if this is the direction you want to take it in, but it's jumped into my head. So feel free to shut me up and steer it somewhere else. But it's shattering when in your own journey, someone that you are looking up to and seeing as, this is a guy that God had used to do incredible work in my wife's heart, and then one of the key areas of ministry in my life that changed everything, he was the vessel by which God used to do that, right?
Yeah.
So now, you know what it's like. If there's someone who has led you to the Lord or had a key influence in your life, they're people you look up to. They're people you might go to on a difficult day asking for advice or help. And they have a standing that you see them in as someone that you would want to go to that could lead you to greater connection with God in areas of need of your own heart or whatever's going on, that you trust that they're able to do that and they're available, and you want to be like them and offer that to others, right? And so when I find out that this guy has failed in this way, it's like the immediate thing that first struck me was I wanted to throw out everything that he taught me. It's funny how, in hindsight, looking back now, thinking, you idiot, why would you do that? There was so much of what he was offering that was truth that changed my life, that was of God. But just because the messenger fails doesn't necessarily mean you should throw out the whole message. But at the time, I couldn't differentiate between the two.
I
And
think that that's quite an
go.
important thing to actually just pause on, because
Mm.
I would know a lot of people um, who would probably recommend that if someone has brought something, a message or whatever they're preaching,
Mm.
if they then have a moral failing, it's like you distance yourself from everything to do with them, because obviously, well, in people's eyes, it would be, if they can't hold to the truth they were proclaiming, then the truth's not worth listening to. But you're saying, actually, if something that they brought is of value, um, even if they do fall later on, don't chuck everything out that they've invested in you.
Yeah. In fact, I would say in this situation, I wouldn't throw anything out that he invested in me.
Hmm.
Everything he brought to this day, I would still hold to as truth and would still share with others.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think interestingly, I remember I'm still moving out of my religious backdrop at that time, and I'm still trying to navigate a new world of understanding how the charismatic gifts work and what's safe and what's not safe, and where do you become a blithering idiot with no basis in scripture, and where are you still, you know, am I allowed to say religious prick and have what nothing to do with what the Holy Spirit has to offer?
Yeah.
Um, you know, so yeah, so I think it was surfacing in me the earlier fathering I got from those from the church that I came to Christ in would have dumped this guy like a hot potato and not wanted anything to do with him, would have thrown at everything he had to offer.
Yeah.
And I think there was echoes of that still surfacing in me. And
Mm.
but you know what? Everything that he had to share, that he pointed to, that he prayed with us in, that brought deliverance or showed us a better way, all of it was truth. All of it was of God.
Mm.
And even though he got taken out at that time and later restored, I don't think his ministry was ever quite the same again, because at his age and the credibility that took a dive, understandably, he never really got back to the stage where he was leading a church again and wasn't given a lot of responsibility. But the and I wouldn't throw out anything that he had to offer. But at the time, when it hit me, I was ready to throw out everything.
Yeah.
And I think there was a journey for me in just trying to discover. I think there was someone in the picture. I'm thinking who that was. That just, said, look, well, they might have just asked some questions, and I've certainly learned later in life that I think discipleship, I used to understand it as these are the rules you're meant to follow, and you need to, get in line with this. Today, probably, I think discipleship's just a place of learning to question and follow a breadcrumb trail curiously, and to learn to ask questions about your own responses and allow God to lead you on a journey that is very different to what I would have understood it to be earlier, where I think it was more, you have to get it right.
Yeah.
Because as a religious person, I could never be real. I can never be genuine. I can never own up to what was really going on in my heart. I had to get it right.
Right.
And everybody else had to know it. This was the truth. And if you don't agree with it, you're as good as unsaved, sadly.
Yeah.
If you don't agree 100% with the truth that I believe to be true, then I have to disregard everything you hold to. If you're 2% off what I hold to, well, I got to wipe you. And actually, that's one of the key indicators of a religious spirit. That's just right there, bang. But when you're religious, you would never recognise that, right? So,
Yeah.
but suddenly this guy, okay, he makes a major mistake. It was a moral failing. Let's just acknowledge that. It was sin. but everything he shared was of God, and it changed my life.
Mm.
And so the fruit of what he brought into my life was transformational in a way that can only be described as holy. So then later, if he has a moral failure, that doesn't change the truth of what happened and what he brought into my life that God was a part of.
Yeah.
And somewhere in there was someone asking questions of me that brought that illumination to me. So Paul, you saying that when he failed, what, that dismantled everything he did for you, that God used? Or, well, no, but, but he sinned, right? Because, yeah, but didn't God use him to lead you to the truth about things that you needed prayer for that then God set you free from? Yeah, but he stuffed up. It was like suddenly, and I'm thinking, actually, if I stop and think about it now, like, how judgmental of me. It's like, as if I'm still getting it all right.
Yeah.
So how, and again, how do we weigh up sin? If I make a small error because of a thought, I've sinned. Then there's there could be, you could grade the action. Say, well, if you actually have an adulterous affair, okay, that's got to be worse, right? I don't know, is it?
Yeah.
Isn't sin? It's all enough to get you disqualified from the kingdom of God. But by God's grace, we're all saved only because of his love for us. And wow, I'm a long way from those, that position now. But I just, yeah, I wouldn't want to, if anyone out there needs to hear something that fits in the bucket of just because someone's failed doesn't mean everything they'd offered you that was of God needs to be thrown out. It's sad and disappointing that they may have failed, and there might be a loss and a grief you have to work through with that, particularly if they've been someone who's impacted you.
Yeah.
And it's disorienting.
Yeah.
I remember at the time thinking, what? It was just, but the enemy can get a lot of leverage out of that. If a key church leader fails in some area of character, that can really just dismantle a congregation or a denomination.
Yeah.
And so the enemy loves to get men and women who are in important positions that have some sort of status attached to it to fall into some sort of failure that then can be spotlighted. And when it all comes to light, it can be devastating for those who saw this person as someone of God they wanted to model and be like. But here's the deal, don't judge Christ by the Christians.
Yeah.
That would not be a smart move. But someone who loves Jesus and bears good fruit because of what he does through them, if they then later make mistakes, that doesn't eradicate any of the good fruit they've borne. Yeah, so I hope that's helpful.
Yeah. So how long was it after he had come and visited you guys that you found out about this? Like,
that's a great question. I'd struggled to remember the period now. It was several years.
yeah.
And we had, I think that was, I try to get these years right, 1990, 1991 when he first came. 91, I think. So show my age now, 1991. I'm in Townsville. And we hadn't any children at that stage, remember, because of what he prayed into me, I was now willing to have children. So it's prior to us having children. So there's some powerful things that God does for me through him. There was a couple of years of just connection via email or him sending packages with certain books, and maybe the odd conversation, rarely, but occasionally by phone. There might have been a call. And then, 4 or 5 years would be my best guess from recall. But I still remember, even at that point, it was like, it was devastating. It was disorienting, I think would be the word I would use. I didn't know where to place it.
Yeah.
Some part of me wanted to, yell at him out of anger, and some part of me wanted to throw out everything he taught me, and then realise that was ridiculous eventually, because of the great fruit that it had borne in my life. And he was the key catalyst that saved my marriage.
Yeah.
God used him, well, Jesus, right? That's, let's give the credit where it's due for what Jesus did. But Jesus used him, and he was the gift to me at that time. And again, another father figure, but a human one. He later made a mistake, and heck, if he was still alive today and around, which I seriously doubt would be the case, he'd probably be in his 90s if he was. I would happily have a coffee with him, give him a big hug and say thank you, and ask him, how's your marriage doing? But yeah, so, yeah, but have you had experiences like that, or any?
I think not personally, but I remember following Ravi Zacharias on YouTube and listening to a lot of his stuff.
Yeah.
And then when the stuff came out after he died, about what he was doing, that was pretty crushing. But nothing personally. I think nothing that's come out really big. I suppose I've come to see different figures in my life in a different light, and I suppose, kind of like what you were saying.
If I should unpack that, I don't know whether you mention names there or not, but like,
well, people who I suppose were really formative in my younger years,
right?
And then as I have like Christian influence, like my pastor and people like that.
Yep.
And then I suppose in hindsight, after being around a different community and a different expression of what the gospel is and how to, I suppose, be discipled in that.
Yeah.
Looking back, it's like, I see that person in a very different light in terms of what they were offering. And but then still, taking what was good from that era and from what they've imparted.
Yeah, that's good. Because the reality is there's things you still would have learnt from that person.
That's right.
That you still hold to today that would be valuable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was it learning to swallow the chicken and spit out the bones?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, this guy was a real kind of turning point for you. But
I think
how did it kind of develop? Like, what were some of the other stepping stones that kind of, I guess, begun to save your marriage and put you on a different path?
Well, I think the gift that man was to me, it highlighted the value of a male mentor. And I don't think, unless it's modeled to you and you're raised with that, or it's an investment that's brought to you, you don't usually wake up one day and go, geez, I need some good men in my life. For most of my life, I can't trust men. That key male authority figures walk out on you and abandon you, right? So why would I want to trust them? So to learn that actually there are good men that maybe I need to go looking for, there was an awakening. I think that guy became a beacon of hope that, okay, I don't have to do this alone. God can still bring other men into my life. But I think I was still waiting for them to show up.
Yeah. And
then somewhere in the picture, I realised they're not coming to me. Where are they? And I can't even tell you what the genesis was of me working out, I need to go find them. And so then starting to look for those men that could help me and form and shape me became something that I saw as value and in fact essential. And I remember when we first had some friends in Townsville in that season, but probably after this event, there was a couple who invited us over and for dinner. We got to get to know them better, and as I'm spending time with them, they had a little girl as a daughter, and he would just say, look, I've just got to go put my daughter to bed, and he'd disappear with her to and I could hear songs being sung and reading books on there. I'm trying to have a conversation at the table with his wife and Jones, but I'm thinking, I look, is he singing to his daughter? You know, she goes, oh yeah, he does all the time. I thought, go figure.
Wow.
What? No one had sung to me. So
Yeah.
you don't know what you don't get until you see it being offered to somebody else.
Yeah.
I was like, does he do that every night? She goes, yeah. And then she threw in some statement like, because that's what his dad used to do for him.
Mm.
I go, so what? It's like, right. So, and for this guy, it was normal to do this because, and I remember when I was chatting to him, I said, like, the way you invest in your daughter at night and you read and you sing to us, like, you used to get that? He goes, yeah. Didn't you? I thought, no.
Not at all.
No, I didn't. I mean, well, there's plenty of stuff I left out, but I think actually when he asked me that, I think my response to him was, no, I got left abandoned by alcoholics in homes as a toddler, and I got locked in bathrooms, and I had ashtrays thrown at me, and just if I was locked in a bathroom and I couldn't reach the basin, I have to drink the toilet water if I was thirsty. Like, no, I didn't get books read to me. So, and it's interesting in that too, because there's the facet of what you don't get is the nurture that your heart needs, but you don't even know you're missing it.
Yeah.
But then there's the trauma it's like, if I'm quoting Gordon Dolby, who's a great author of books and a big influencer in men's ministry that I had the privilege to get to know and have some mentoring from. So you go looking for these guys, right?
Yeah.
He actually responded and came over and connected with me, which was a privilege. But he made this statement about, this whole area of, I guess, fathering, of this nurture that's needed. And he says for some people it's like they don't know they didn't get nurture because they don't know what it looks like. And he would talk about how, and they mightn't even recognise the way their life was actually heavily influenced by abuse. And he said if you talk to a flower that never gets any nutrients, never gets any sunlight, and it slowly just wilts, it can't explain to you why it died. The same flower and that plant, if it's just thrown on the ground and stomped on, which is abuse, right? It can't unpack for you, So it's like you just don't know how to articulate these things until you see it outlived in front of you in a different way with someone else giving it to someone in a way that you never got. And I remember sitting there thinking, how you do this all the time? Yeah. Didn't you get it? It's like, no, I didn't. So I just remember saying to him, can I come over more often and watch this? And he goes, yeah, why? I thought, I don't know what this looks like. And I'm thinking, if I ever have kids, it'd be nice to know what nurture looks like.
Yeah.
And he went, right. So it's funny how sometimes I think we don't even realise sometimes what we've got or what we have to give away. And yes, he just watched this guy just love on his daughter. And then they had another girl and then eventually a son. And watching them make these investments just opened opportunities for me to see how cute, just the fun they had. And, I didn't have that. I didn't get given that. And if in a marriage it's working well and mum and dad really love each other, you get to see that relationship as a child.
Yeah.
And as you watch that, it's like, oh, that's how a marriage should be. That's how a husband should treat a wife. As a child, you grow up under that, receiving that. And interestingly, none of my kids think marriage is a bad idea. Right? But when I was growing up, I wasn't sure marriage was a great idea.
Yeah.
Because of what I'd experienced and seen. And interestingly, what a surprise. People who don't think marriage is a great idea, they probably were raised in a circumstance where marriage wasn't great to be under. And as it implodes around them, why would you bother with that,
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had one child who was sharing about It was to do with what? It was centered around how, I think it was to do with hugs. Yeah, it was like the son said, oh, you know, it was said in a way that all these kids must get this, right, Dad? I went, and my children all went to a Christian school locally, and I just said, uh, maybe they don't all get this. And this son said, but it's a Christian school. I went, yeah, don't assume that because these other kids might be part of Christian homes and go to church, they naturally get good nurture at home. And, you know, I'm just trying to not destroy the kids' faith in humanity, but trying to bring some reality.
Yeah.
And he went, but because from his point of view, it was like, why wouldn't they? And I said, look, if those kids' dads and mums didn't get a lot of good investment, then they won't know how to offer it to their own kids. But because you might be getting it, don't assume that they're getting that same kind of investment. And this son just didn't believe it was possible that what I was saying was true. And I said to him, well, maybe next time you're sitting around at recess or morning till lunch, just ask the guy, say, hey, who here gets hugs from their dad? And see what kind of response you get.
Did he do it?
He did. He did.
Wow.
I was a day or two later, he goes, Dad. And I just picked him up from school. Dad. I said, what? He goes, I asked him. And I forgot the conversation.
Yeah.
What? He asked, what? Who? What? What are you talking about? He goes, the kids at school. I asked all these guys at lunch, who gets hugs from their dads? I said, oh, what did they say? He went, crickets. You could have heard a pin drop, Dad. And it's like they all looked at me and didn't know what to say. They thought I was messing with them. I thought maybe they didn't hear the question, so I asked again. So, who gets hugs from their dad? Do you guys get hugs from their dad? And just only one answered. Said, never had a hug from a dad a day in my life ever. And then the other guys just laughed and mocked a bit and said, oh, who needs that? And then we all sort of broke up. But he said, I sat there thinking, Dad was right. They don't all get this stuff. And then he said, and they're all Christians. I said, yeah, mate, just being a Christian doesn't make you Superman. But yeah, so look, be grateful for what you're getting, and maybe think, how could you be helping these guys and stay connected to them and love them and be a good friend to them, you know? So yeah, you don't know really how to measure that, do you? But there's interesting, nurture not given is a wound.
Yeah.
And but you don't know how to measure that.
Yeah. I found myself explaining to someone I was just connecting with from the men's event that we were at a couple of months ago. And yeah, he was just unpacking that surely there couldn't be much that kind of went, that became a wound for him, given how he had an upbringing that was in a Christian home and his dad was good. And it was funny because I can relate to that because I grew up in a Christian home, many siblings, and there was a lot of stability. There was a lot of constancy, but
which is good.
It was good.
That's good.
It was really good. But I've since come to learn that so many of the addictions that I went to and the things that I just longed for that I didn't have, turns out that vacuum of nurture that I felt was because I didn't really get much of those things, the hugs or the being put to bed at night. And yeah, just that someone showing you that you're special. Yeah. And that they can single you out and say, yeah. So it's huge.
Yeah, it is. And, I learned that children just spell love Time, but that's not what everyone gets, sadly. And it is and it's difficult to measure. And I think I'm kind of spitballing it here, and it's sort of anecdotal, but I would say up to 70% of a person's wounding in their life that is unrecognised is due to the lack of nurture that they did not get.
Yeah.
And, if someone's looking for help, often we always look for, well, what are the critical incidents? What happened to me that messed me up? What are the woundings where I was attacked or raped or yelled at or punched or hurt or failed in some way that was tangible and real, or a physical effect or something that's brought trauma that's tangible that we can see and recognise would have been bad to have happened to us. But to try to say to a bloke, well, because you didn't get any hugs and because you weren't told regularly by your dad that he loves you, that's a wound. Well, you feel like a pussy, don't you? What, you're kidding me, right? No way. And the thought of that just was abhorrent, to think that could have an impact on me. And to start to come to a place of recognising, but it was things like hanging out with this other dude who's investing in his kid, and I'm thinking, what? It's like, what is he doing? He's singing to his child.
Yeah.
It's like, I still remember at the time thinking, why would you do that? But as I watched this father and this daughter play together and wrestle and have fun and just giggle, and although I wasn't, I think women at that stage were still a bit scary, even when they were 4 or 5.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking, she is loving this. And you could see something tangible being invested in her that was depositing something in her spirit.
Yeah.
And also I found, it's my experience that if you have children, when your own children reach the age at which your wounds were inflicted upon you, whether that be traumas of abuse or lack of nurture, it kind of makes more sense. If you were brutalised as a kid in some way and your kid gets a certain age and something happens that triggers you, you could probably nearly make the connection, oh, this happened to me at that age and that's why this is impacting me when I see this at play.
Yeah.
But when you didn't get something, I remember my kids used to run up to me and want hugs at the end of the day, and I was just tired. I had nothing to offer. And they want hugs, they want to play with daddy. Like, one of the highlights of a kid's day is when dad comes home from work and daddy's home. Mum's tired. She wants to hand the kids over and get a reprieve. And dad walks in the door and he's wrecked and wants nothing to do with them because he's got nothing to offer. But the guys who've been on a journey of restoration, or perhaps they got something that other guys didn't, there's something in their heart that's deposited there, then there's something they can offer there. But for me, the tank was empty. I had nothing. Now the tank's really empty because I've come home wrecked from work and I've got kids wanting something from me. But what really blew me out of the water was how angry I would get at the fact that they wanted this nurture. They wanted to play with daddy. They wanted to be picked up and hugged. And I wanted to repel them. And it was like, I knew that's not good.
Yeah.
But I could not tell you why. And who do you articulate that to? Oh, by the way, when my kids want a hug from me, I tend to want to throw them across the room or, harm them. I don't understand why that is, but, like, well, they're going to take my children from me or they're going to jail me for those, if I say those things out loud. So who do I tell that to, right?
Yeah.
So now I never actually did that, but it was like, why am I so angry when these kids come up and want this from me? And so there were messages that really God was trying to show me through my own children where I needed restoration in my heart from things in the past that I've been wounded by. I didn't know what that was or how to go after it. So then having people I could see investing in their kids, that was a visual model. It was helping me make some connections. But then later in life, other men that I would be able to connect with. And I mentioned Gordon Dolby earlier.
Yeah.
He started to make some connections for me there. Just ways in which he would say or term and phrase things that helped me see that maybe that's a wound. And one of the things he offered to me that still I think is a profound truth today he would say, Paul, because I always thought, well, my mum's the big deal in my life. She's the one that scarred me and hurt me, controlled me, wounded me, whatever. And he would go, well, yeah, she did have a big impact. But actually, Paul, the deeper cry of your heart isn't, Mum, why are you hurting me like that? Or why are you controlling me like that? Or why are you yelling at me like that? The deeper cry of your heart, Paul, is, Dad, why aren't you here to rescue me from this? It's like, at the time I thought, I'm not sure what he's been smoking.
So that didn't resonate.
No, not at the time.
Yeah.
But it's so funny how sometimes it's like, have you ever heard me use the analogy of like a stone in your shoe?
Yeah.
It was just like, it stayed with me. It's stuck, and I couldn't shake it.
Yeah.
And the more I pondered it and thought that through, and then I would circle back round and I'd say, Gordon, can we have another chat about that? I want to ask him some questions about it, And so just to be able to say, just run that past me, and why would that have an impact on me? And he was smart enough to say, what's caused you to come back around and ask me about that again? He said, obviously there's something that God's up to. I said, well, I can't let it go. There's something in there that you said that's I probably dismissed a little too quickly.
Yeah.
But I knew there was a truth in it because there was something that was agitated in me as he brought it into focus. And I said, I don't understand. Can you help me understand why that would have an impact, and why Dad's the problem there, probably more so than Mum, because it's tangible. I know what she did. I know how she treated me and what she threw at me, and I had to deal with her on a regular basis. And he just said, well, it was just, he just had this way of just kind of, mind you, he did have a way of, he was quite the wordsmith, so he could sometimes blow you out of the water with statements that you'd take a while to wrap your head around, but other times he just was able to bring it down to simple language that, and on this occasion he just said, well, think of it like this. What if the enemy's major thrust is to discredit the character of God? And to do that, if he can bring wounding through your parents to mess up your picture of God, wouldn't it just make more sense that he'd want to do that through a father? And I went, and I think the correct answer was to say yes, but I wasn't too sure why at this stage. And I said to him, yeah, why is that? And he just goes, well, when Jesus taught us to pray the Lord's Prayer, how does it begin? Our Father who art, and he goes, yeah, just stop there. How did it start? Our Father. And he goes, yeah. And I went, oh. I said, and then I think he was the one that I first heard, I might have been Ken Symington, actually. Both key mentors for me, Ken Symington and Gordon Dolby, but one of them might have been Ken, said, when you read John 14, verse 6, it says, Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but by me. So if Jesus is the way, the Father is the destination. He said, so if Jesus came as the big brother to rescue us and get us home to Dad, then what the enemy has to do, he has to make Father not safe or attractive to want to run to. He said, so in your story, you've got a mum who's done a lot of wounding, and you think that she's the major deal in your life. Now, let's be fair. He said, she has brought some wounding that you have to work through. It's affected you, how you see women, blah, blah, blah. None of that I would argue with. It's been a long journey to work on that. A lot of that stuff. And I wouldn't be going enough to say that it's all dealt with today. I think a lot of it has, but I've long since learned not to say, yeah, that's all fixed now. But what was interesting was the fact that he just said, but if your dad had stayed around, if it had not run out, your mum was too much for him to deal with, and he didn't know what to do, and he's bolted. Easier to run away than to stay in the fight. But when he runs out on his family, he leaves you to the mercy of having to deal with your mother. And he just said this, what would you have given for him to have stuck around and been part of the rescue of your mother's heart, to see the family restored, to go on a journey of his own, to become the man that probably in his heart he would have liked to have become.
Yeah.
And then when your mother's in a really desperate place and freaking out and yelling at you, just to say, honey, take a breath. Step away from the boy. Leave him to me. What would you have given for your dad to have intervened and been there in that space, in those moments? And I can't. Again, I didn't have a reference to really know what to say to that, but it just had me, another layer given to me to ponder. And, I think the stone of my shoe grew to a cricket ball. It's like it was becoming more agitating. I was saying, man. And then he said, just think how different your life might have been if your dad had have found a way to pick up his sword and learn how to fight in a way that brought rescue and safety to all those under his care. How different would your life have turned out? And what platform could you have started from had he started this journey? But he didn't. And that left you to the mercy of a broken woman who brought a lot of scars. And I thought, wow. So there was this, often there's a time of processing of all that. And I wouldn't say it was weeks or months, it could have been years, just wrestling with that. And eventually arriving at the point where I thought, wow, it's like her impact on me is primarily because my dad wasn't available to step in and shield me.
Yeah.
And so then ultimately, almost subliminally, I don't trust Father God in some ways here. Because at a deeper level, I won't really be healed of my mother wound until I'm first healed of my father wound. Today I would say when someone says, Paul, you don't understand. It's my mother that did all the damage. I'll go, wow, where have I heard that before? Can I ask a couple of questions? Yes? With your mum, tell me about her dad. Oh, no, he died when she was young. Or, oh, no, he was an alcoholic and was completely unavailable to her. Or, no, he ran off with another woman and left her. Ah, right, so there's no father wound there. Now, maybe could I ask this question? When your mum was going off at you and blowing up or abusing you or controlling you or crushing you, where was your dad in those moments? Oh, well, he was busy at work. He had, he worked 80-hour weeks to. So now it's me saying to others, what would you have given for your dad to have been available to step in? And so it's like you can easily think mum's the big deal, and there's no doubt that my mother had a profound impact on me early in regards to how I saw myself and my relationship with women and how I reacted in so many ways was very unhealthy and unhelpful, and it certainly had a huge impact on my marriage in the early years, living in fear of my mother and blah blah blah. But when it got down to the syntax of what do I need to do to bring repair to that, the starting point wasn't really with her. It was dealing with the fact that the origin of all this is my dad in his absence, and an inability to step in and just not there to protect me from her. At a deeper level, I have no expectation or belief that God will step in to rescue me. The Father's not really available to me as Father God to do those things. And so the very God that I need to go to, the one that Jesus died to introduce me to his Father, for that, it's just, there's a vacuum there. And I had to spend a lot of time trying to work on, okay, And it was pursuing that area for me personally. And I think in a lot of others have had the privilege to minister into their lives where pursuing that angle of where do I not trust Father, God, because of where my father's absence and failures are, that opened the door for the enemy to bring the wounds of my mother to have such an influence upon me. What do I do with all that, and how do I unravel that and unpack that? And having key men like Gordon, and I threw Ken Semington's name in there earlier, these guys who helped me get a better handle on what the Father heart of God should look like, not just in their teaching, but getting to watch them. Yeah. And Gordon I got to see something of, but Ken was a friend whom I got to spend time with, to go fishing with, to be in his house, to see his family, and to watch at close range. And so these guys modelled it to me in ways that where I just got to see it. And so, you know, if there's other guys out there listening to this or finding any of this interesting, and there's now a bit of a stone in their shoe that's bothering them about this, it would be really helpful to look for some key men who might be able to help put flesh to this, where they get to see those guys father their children in a way that you didn't get, and you get to watch that and see that. I'd highly recommend that. So learning to find, I think the formula that fathers help me with is, Paul, where were you not fathered? And where would you like to have been fathered? And who do you see that stuff available in that you could pursue and get to know and invite into your life? So somewhere in there I'm hoping I'm responding to your question about mentoring. But,
absolutely. Yeah. These were some of the people that you personally got to know. Was that through bumping into their work first, or hearing about them from someone else? Like, how did you come in contact with these guys?
Say with Gordon Dolby, I literally picked up his book, Healing the Masculine Soul. I'm trying to think, where did I find that? How did I come across that? Wow. I'm actually drawing a blank. I'm trying to think where. I think I read Wild at Heart first.
Okay.
About 2001.
Yeah. I was going to ask when you saw that book as well.
Which was, as profound as it has been for many men to pick that book up. But I didn't really know what to do with that at the time.
Yeah.
And but in there, John Eldridge writes about having, I think he actually attended a Gordon Dolby weekend retreat. And he said, and there I learned that when a father has fathered you and you haven't been able to receive all you can from your own earthly dad, there is a heavenly Father that can take you on a journey to recover what was lost.
Yeah.
And I remember reading that thinking, who's Gordon Dolby? And I think then, finding his book, and his key one he's probably best known for is Healing the Masculine Soul, which some would attribute to being the launch pad for the modern day men's movement that we see that, God's doing some great stuff with in really healthy ways. But, and some would say before that, what's the guy's name? Robert Bly, I think is his name, who's not a Christian, but wrote a brilliant book called Iron John. Have I got that right? I think it was Iron John. Weird name, but excellent book.
Yeah.
Some really good stuff in there. Not necessarily. The guy doesn't know Jesus, or didn't at the time he wrote it. But the book was excellent, and Dolby refers to him at times and draws stuff from him. But Gordon brought a context that was in a Christian sense. And as I read that book, there was some profound stuff in there, and I thought, wow. And then I started to just pick up his next book, which was Sons of the Father. More stuff that was quite outstanding, and he just has this way of picking up like statements that you've got to spend a week unpacking. And one of those was where shame abides, addictions abound. I thought, what? It's like, shame, where shame abides, where shame, if you abide, you live there. So where shame lives, where shame, is present in a powerful way, then addictions abound. That means there's a lot of addictions, right? So you sort of, like, is it 5 words? Where shame abides, addictions abound. 5 words.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, I would struggle to find 5 words put together that are more profound than that statement. So, please, if you've got one, throw it at me. But I wrestled with that one for a long time, thinking, what is it? Is that true? What do I do with that? And
Were
I
you
apply it to
thinking?
my own life.
Yeah, I was going to ask, like, were you thinking immediately to some of the things that you were going through and struggling with, or?
Well, I didn't know what to do with it because,
Yeah.
like, a Gordon Dolby book is not someone you'd hand to someone who doesn't like to read.
Yeah.
Like, I remember I'd be taken out. I think more Gordon Dolby books have been thrown at walls than probably most other, because if you finally get it, you're probably ticked off of what you're reading when the truth sinks in. But I just was mostly lost on most paragraphs, and I'd have to sit there and I'd have to go back and start the page again and then slow it down. But my Gordon Dolby books are probably more referenced than any other book because of the density of the truth that's found in them. Anyway, but this one statement, and I couldn't, so the Sons of the Father or Healing the Masculine Soul, I'm not too sure which one that quote is from, but when I finally kind of, because I had the dude's phone number, right?
Yeah.
But I didn't want to always be phoning him saying, what are you talking about here? So I often want to try and wrestle it out and then invite him to come and unpack a bit more. But I felt like I wanted to be somewhere on the same page.
Yeah.
Even if it was just pride alone, not wanting to say, I got no idea what you're talking about, man. Unpack this for me.
Yeah.
But it was good for me to wrestle some of those things out. And I think we're shamed. So where am I ashamed? And he's making a link between shame and addictions. So now that's interesting. Is he saying all addictions are really rooted in shame? I think, is that true? So, like there's a lot in it, right?
Yeah.
But when I just assessed my own life and I thought, well, okay, what are the things I've been addicted to? Well, what haven't I been addicted to? But the fact is that most of the things that I would look at that I ran to for comfort, that I then got mastered by, it was because there were areas of my life where I was rejected, hurt, wounded in, where I didn't feel worthy, which is shame, right?
Yeah.
I thought, hold the phone. So where shame abides, wherever shame is in your life, that's going to be a pretty strong platform for the enemy. Because if shame makes you feel not worthy, then shame tells you you can't really go to God to get what your heart needs.
Yeah.
Shame will drive. If you're a Christian wrapped in shame, you'll then become a religiously driven person trying to perform by keeping the law in your own strength. And then if you keep failing at keeping the law, which you will, if you're trying to do it without God's help, without Holy Spirit empowering you to do so, then eventually you get to a point where if you can't go to God to get comfort, then you will run to something else to get comfort.
Yeah.
Bloody hell. Where shame abides, addictions abound. Damn it. He's on the money. So it's like, but it's just profound, and so those statements, and then, I somewhere in one of those, it was Healing the Masculine Soul, where he talked about chapter 3, I think it is, from memory. Come out, son of my people, is the title at that chapter. And it's this story of him in Africa watching a tribe perform a rite of passage for a young boy that was quite powerful. And he just acknowledges, look, what they did there was powerful. Wrong spirit, but right idea.
Yeah.
And what would it look like to do that for boys today with good men around them investing in them? And I thought, what does At the time, I was wrestling with the whole idea of trying to do some sort of rites of passage with my sons that were meaningful and carried depth, and could be ceremony that. And let's face it, look, sometimes you do rites of passage and they're not always done well, or they've got wrong motives, whoever's doing them, or
Yeah.
but I think done well, consistently, through all investment that you offer to a son, they can be cherry on top of a cake that really spikes something. And so with my sons, there's different things through different seasons in their life where I've tried to provide that for them with a company of men to back that and empower it and spike it. His chapter on that was really what got me connected to him, because I didn't know what to do with that, but it drew me to consider this whole idea in that chapter is this boy who was called out by the men away from his mother. Right, now in my story,
Yeah, that's starting to really connect with
I'm
exactly what you experienced.
So that, so hi, I think it was an email I wrote. Paul Ryan here. Love your chapter 3 of Healing the Masculine Soul. Any chance I could? I was thinking I was trying to invite him to unpack some things and questions I wanted to ask him.
Yeah.
But I just suddenly get this response with a phone number saying, "Yeah, give me a call." I thought, did he just give me his phone number? So I'm on the blower. Hi, with these great conversations, and there was a curiosity in me with what he was talking about and what he was unpacking, that I invited him to come out to do men's events through the ministry I'm a part of. I think there was some sincerity. I wanted to bless other men, but I thought if I can run this conference, I can afford an airfare to get him out here so that he can invest in me.
Yeah.
Unashamedly. And I'm very thankful for what he brought. So that's how I connected with Gordon. And great man of God. I still have his number today. He's aging now, but he's, as a good man, and very thankful for what he brought to the body of Christ. And I still learn from him. Ken Semmington, I kind of want to join the ministry I'm a part of when I was in the UK getting trained over there. He came to talk on a topic called the Father Heart of God. And as I listened to him share on that, there was just practical ways in his storytelling about how God fathers in a way that just was compelling to listen to, very humorous. If you ever met Ken, he was a funny guy and right up my alley. So, I approached him because I was actually working at this centre, and I was hosting events, and so when he would come to do events, I'd have more access to him than others might have. And I just want to hang around and ask him questions. And then eventually when I was leaving England to come back to Australia to help launch this ministry I'm a part of, I said to him, if I invited you out to Australia to come and teach a men's event, would you come? He went, why would you want me? And I said, there's something that you offer that I think would draw the hearts of men in Australia, something they would be very hungry for. And that resonated with him. And he said, yeah. He said, on one condition. What's that? I get to teach the Father Heart of God as well. I thought, done. And so he came out, taught a great men's event, and then Father Heart of God. And I think about 17 years straight, we had, Ken came out with his wife to teach. And every time he and I'd go fishing, hang out together, and he was welcome in my home. He got to invest powerfully in all my kids. He was part of, investing in my sons as well. And I miss him dearly. He's gone to glory. But I learned some good stuff from him there. So, again, there's some of the key players that I've had the privilege to be around and get to know, and how God sort of connected me to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the age gap with people like you and Ken?
Yeah. So Ken, wow. I was going to say 15 years. Might have been a bit more. Might have been closer to 20.
Yeah.
With Gordon, I think it's around about 28, 19, 20 years. So there's,
so it's like a different generation.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Certainly, Interestingly, though, a mentor doesn't have to be older than you.
Yeah, because I was going to draw on that
Yeah.
that kind of thing because they were guys who probably were a fair bit older, but it doesn't always need to be someone
No.
who's
No,
much older than you for you to learn from and to,
absolutely not.
yeah.
And I think sometimes having the humility to acknowledge that and then ask someone who you see something in. And I think the idea of having a constellation of mentors, which really means, if you look up into the sky and you see a constellation of stars, you're seeing many stars in the sky above you. So it's just a clever way of trying to say, have more than one mentor.
Yeah.
One person can't bring you everything. They might have a niche or a strength, and they might have some things they can bring to you, maybe in an array of areas, but they won't be able to give you everything that you need.
Yeah.
No one person can. So if you have a constellation of mentors, if you had, if you were blessed to have half a dozen that you could find and draw from. And also mentoring has several ways, I guess we can all be mentored. If it's direct one-on-one, mentoring, there is terminology for this, and it's funny me. But if I start with passive mentoring, if I read the Gospel of John, who died, quite a few centuries ago, is mentoring me as I read the Gospel of John.
Yeah.
If I'd never met Gordon Dolby, he's passively mentoring me through the books I've read. But I think it's called intentional mentoring, but there's one in between, somewhere in between. But if someone's more direct and is making an effort to come alongside you and do that, with diarised events where they come to your side and model to you or talk to you or invest in you, that kind of intentional mentoring. Passive mentoring, there's one in the middle that's escaping me.
I can't think of it either.
Book I've even pinched that from now. But that's so you can get different mentors, but like it doesn't have to be a man. What if there's a woman who has skill sets or wisdom that can be offered that you could draw from? But you could have, like my Jonathan has wisdom and skills and stuff. As I listen to him, I'm thinking, it'd be easy for me to think, well, I'm his father. How could surely it's going to be one-way traffic when it comes to wisdom. Yeah, see, that kind of arrogance means you'll probably learn nothing.
Yeah.
So a mentor does not have to be older than you if they have strengths in certain areas that you do not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you could isolate yourself and cut yourself off from a lot of great learning and investment by assuming they have to be older. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was part of the breakout session in that men's event that we were at a couple of months ago, and I went to the mentoring one, and one of the models that they were just suggesting as a man who's seeking God and looking to to hand on what you have and to be constantly still learning and journeying under someone, to have someone ahead of you, someone beside you, and someone that you're pouring into as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's good.
Very much so.
Yeah. And not to just have those three people in your life, but that kind of, those three stages, I suppose.
It's a well-rounded model, because if there's someone above you, or if you better yet have a constellation of those above you, then that's feeding you.
Yeah.
If there are peers alongside of you, then you can be journeying together. But then if you're giving out to those, for want of a better word, under you, now, because if the name of your podcast is the beginning of wisdom, well, if we're gaining all this wisdom, but we're keeping it for ourselves, that's a bit selfish, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if we're able to impart that to others and help others grow, and we're giving that away, that's got to be, that's got to be of God, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'd say so.
I'd say that's a good way to go. But yeah, so.
Well, I think we might just kind of bring it to a bit of a landing with that, because I think we've explored some amazing topics, and it's been great to hear.
You're welcome.
The
mate.
way
Let's see what you do with all that. If you trim it back to 3 minutes,
Yeah.
then maybe it wasn't as valuable as we first thought. But hopefully you'll find a bit more value in it than that. But
Yeah.
been a privilege
Yeah.
and great questions. I hope there's some value in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've
For
just
sure.
enjoyed hanging out with you.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul.